So, buy the merch. Number one, buy the merch, please. Please buy the merch. It's actually super nice. Buy the merch, unless you don't want to, in which case don't buy the merch. Anyway, I just shaved. I just trimmed. I don't know if you can tell. I feel so much better. Like, I don't know if any of my other viewers have like facial hair. Maybe one person out of the people watching my videos also has facial hair, but like it gets to a certain length and you don't really realize it affects you. Oh, I should turn some music on. Hang on. You don't really realize that it affects you, but shout out Glitch City. Wait, hang on a second. Let's do it this. Sorry. Like it makes you feel different. Like when my beard gets too long, I just like I don't know. Like it's not that noticeable, I guess. Hang on. Let's see. Is this gonna be too loud? Too loud. Not too loud. It's not that noticeable, I guess, to most people, but to me, it feels like I just feel much worse, you know? Not like in everything I do, but I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know, not as good. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we're here. We're back. We've got music now. Thank you. Also, guys, if you ever hear music in my videos that are not from the game itself, that's from Glitch X City, is the YouTube account. She's awesome. She's a super talented musician, does a ton of video game remixes, and I use her music a lot for my stuff, so please check her out if you like. And people sometimes will ask me, like, and I always try to tell them, like, where's the music from, and it's always Glitch. So unless Uzi has admitted it, in which case sometimes the music is different. I just shaved and now there's hair in my there's hair in my shirt. Oh, this is gonna be a hard video for me, I can tell you that much. Anyway, so last night they released, it says date of loss revision February 13th, but I saw this last night, that the video game rules, formats, and penalty guidelines document, which discusses what's going on in our format, just was updated. So I'm not sure exactly. This is like the official document from Play Pokemon. It's got a lot of stuff in here, and these are all clickable links. But let's see. So basically, why this matters is that they made an update for Series 3. So now we have the official Series 3 rules document. So that's good. So basically, starting in Series 3, Pokemon with the following national Pokedex number will become permitted for tournament play, providing they meet all other criteria. Number 1 through 9, that is the starters. So that means Bulbasaur, Charizard, or like Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. Mainly Venusaur and Blastoise are now legal. Number 79, that's going to be a Cantonian form of, that's probably, I don't know what that is, maybe Persian or Mr. Mime or something. 722 to 730 is the Alola Starter. So basically, as we know, it adds in the Alolan starters and the other Kanto starters that are not currently legal. The real interesting thing here is that, and also regional Pokedex forms. So this adds Alolan Persian and Alolan Ninetales, which are both very good Pokemon. Maybe a couple others. I know Alolan Raichu is not legal, whereas Alolan Ninetales is. But the real thing is that we know about the additional Gmax Pokemon that are added. So I think I'm going to do a separate video on this. I'm just going to Cerebi.net right now. I think I'll do a whole other video where I go a little bit more in depth on the Pokemon that are legal, and then, I think maybe I'll do like a tier list video if that's interesting to you guys, like where I rank like how good I think the new Gmax Pokemon that are added were. But it's a lot of them, and unlike Series 1, so in Series 1, Series 1 there was no Gmax? Yeah. Series 2, they added Butterfree, Centiskorch, Corviknight, Dreadnought, Eevee, Meowth, Pikachu, Sandaconda, Snorlax, and Charizard, but only with Blaze, which won Dallas Regionals. So the interesting thing to me is that the Pokemon that they added for the most part, like these Gmaxes, are for the most part not very good. Corviknight and Dreadnought are both worse than their base forms and doubled, so you would never use them. Eevee and Meowth are very gimmicky and pretty bad, truth be told, so those are like, all 4 of those are immediately kind of eliminated, and then Snorlax and Butterfree were good. The thing about Butterfree is, for the most part, you didn't want to Gigantamax it, so it wasn't like a Pokemon you'd build a team around, but if you had a Butterfree on your team, then you could use it and Gigantamax it, and that was good, but didn't make that much sense most of the time because it's unreliable. Snorlax was good, and Pikachu was okay. Like, double paralysis is kind of broken, not gonna lie, but Pikachu is really frail, so it didn't see very much success or usage at all. And then even though Centiskorch and Sandaconda had potential, especially on trap teams that really wanted to trap, I don't think they got nearly any championship points, and they definitely didn't perform especially well at Dallas to my knowledge. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is pretty much all of the Gigantamax Pokemon introduced in Series 2 were kind of lackluster, right? Like, they were the weaker ones for sure. Like I said, 4 of them are, out of the, 9 that were added, 4 of them off the bat are pretty much unusable, and then 3 of them are borderline, like, gimmicky, right? Like, and I'm talking about Pikachu, Centiskorch, and Sandaconda, where they're not good Pokemon for the most part if you don't Gigantamax them, so it really limits them, I guess is what I'm saying. And then Butterfree and Snorlax, were good. They were good. They weren't broken, and even Butterfree was kind of on the fence, where for the most part you didn't want a Gigantamax Butterfree, but it was a good option. Like, most Butterfree did not end up Gigantamaxing most games, but just because Butterfree was a good support Pokemon, especially for Trick Room, like, it got some usage, but it wasn't because of the Gigantamax form. Like, you could have used Butterfree without Gigantamax. It just gave it another tool, another option. So I think you see what I'm saying, right? Like, most of the Series 2 Gigantamax did not see much use. Oh, and Charizard, sorry, I missed Charizard. Charizard was good. Charizard is very good, thanks to how good its secondary effect is. So, Series 3 is a different story. So let's go through and talk about what the different Pokemon do. So, Alchemy. Alchemy, oh, that loaded fast. I'm used to Sarah taking a while. So, Alchemy's G-Max move is G-Max Finale. I believe this heals 1/8 of you and your partner Pokemon and does not heal the Pokemon in the back. I'm not totally positive on that. Why is this? Hang on a second. Whoa. Sorry. Whoa. Oh, no. Well, I'm zooming in now. Hello. This is me up close. It'll go back in a second. So, Alchemy. I realized it was too zoomed in, and now I've bumped things. I have to wait. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm back. Okay. So, Alchemy. Alchemy, I have always said, from before the game came out, and even still, even still, I feel like Alchemy is a very good Pokemon. Decorate is an amazing attack. G-Max Finale is good, I think. So I think, like, I have always felt like, even taking away the G-Max, I have always felt like Alchemy should be getting more usage than it does, and that's been surprising to me. That's one thing that I'll talk about things that I expected versus things that have actually happened. But I think that Alchemy should have gotten more usage, and so I think that having Alchemy, giving it its G-Max Finale, which, lets it heal, I think that'll open the door for people to experiment a little bit more. The reason I think Alchemy is good, and I'll talk more about this in my video where I go really in-depth, but I think Decorate is a very good attack, and people are kind of sleeping on it right now, so that's my perspective. Next up, we have APPLETUN. So, APPLETUN's a Pokemon that, it's very bulky. It has a... Oopsie, no. It has a very good ability. In Thick Fat, and it has a couple things it can do. It's bulky is the real thing. It has Gluttony, it has Thick Fat. Ripen, I don't think is that good. But, yeah, its G-Max move, heal status conditions of allies. So, I don't think that this is that good of a G-Max move, personally. The reason is that when you consider, like, a G-Max move, the other thing you have to consider is that you have to give up a different... It's not like you get the original effect and the bonus effect. You're giving up something in exchange for something else. APPLETUN setting Grassy Terrain is pretty much like it's a life orb boost on its grass moves, and it provides passive healing, which on a Pokemon like APPLETUN, which is very bulky, can actually be really nice. I know you can run leftovers, you can run a berry depending on your item, like they're depending on your team and what you want and how you've trained it. But like leftovers, leech seed, grassy terrain, APPLETUN's like pretty hard to remove if you can't KO in one hit, especially if you're an iron defense or something. So basically, what I'm saying is that APPLETUN's pretty bulky, and so healing status conditions is nice. I think it could be okay. Like you might want to use. I guess it depends on your team, right? Like if you find your team is weak to burn, it's not a Pokemon that I think you would use for the effect. I think it's a Pokemon that if you were going to use it, you would be like, okay, this makes sense on my team. Like I have a bunch of physical attackers, so therefore maybe it makes sense. Like I'm worried about burns, or maybe you're worried about sleep powder, and so you're thinking, well, like I can just wake myself up with APPLETUN. I think APPLETUN could definitely do well. I don't think it's inherently a terrible Pokemon or anything like that. But I think you'd have to be pretty smart about how you approached using it well, because I think it's not clear to me, at least, how to make it really good. Next up, we have Colossal. So Colossal, I am really excited for personally. I like Colossal a lot as a Pokemon, and Colossal, I think this is a Pokemon that, this is my opinion, I think most people are not going to agree with me here, but from my perspective, I think this Pokemon is going to be very good. Its G-Max move is really cool. It's G-Max Volcalith, which is the same thing as Charizard's, except that instead of fire type, like it deals 1/6 damage for 4 turns, which is an insane amount of damage, and it does not affect rock types, to my understanding. Since I haven't used these in game yet, I can't, like, there's things that I'm pretty sure I did enough research that I think I understand how these things work, but possible I'm wrong. But to my understanding, it's exactly like Charizard's move, except it does not affect rock types. Charizard is not like a great Pokemon on its own, but the reason it won regionals was because of how strong its G-Max move is. So I feel pretty good in saying that Colossal is kind of in a similar spot where G-Max Volcalith, the secondary damage is really, really good. Keep in mind that a team has 400% HP, and this move does a third of that. It does 2/3 on 2 Mons, which is 4/3, which is, yeah, a third of, did I say third? A third of a team's health. just in passive damage from Gmax Vocalith, assuming that nobody Dynamaxes and assuming that you don't waste any like of your damage. But that's a lot of damage, right? It's basically, it's over 100. If you were to put it all in one Pokemon, it'd be at 130%, which is a lot. So it's a very good move. The other thing you have to consider is that the metagame is going to change. It's not like we're just adding Colossal, Gmax Colossal into what we already have. We're going to be adding Colossal into a format with Incineroar, with Primarina, with Blastoise, with Venusaur, and with like the other Gmax Mons. So I feel like I've been talking a little bit too much about these, so I'm going to go a little faster, I think, through the rest of them. Next up, we have Flapple. Flapple is an interesting Pokemon. It's not that fast, but it has Hustle, which, as we've learned, is very good with Dynamax. Its Gmax move, it lowers opponents' evasions. So I think you could, like, maybe build a team around this. Like, Flapple's Gmax move is actually, it might be worth using. Maybe not, though. This is tricky because, like, lowering the opponent's evasion is cool, but you don't have evasion checks when you're in Dynamax form, and like I said with Appletun, you lose your Grassy Terrain boost, which on an offensive Pokemon like Appletun is pretty nice. You do get Max Airstream, which is really good in Appletun, so I think this Pokemon has some usage, and it's possible, like, maybe you do something where you have, like, Togekiss Appletun, and turn 1 you, like, Airstream, and then, you know, you wait for Togekiss to get KO'd, and then you go into, like, Gengar, and you use, like, Gmax Tartness and, like, Hypnosis, so you hit Hypnosis more accurately, or you pair it with Milotic so you can't be intimidated, and you Icy Wind, Tartness, and then go for, like, I don't know, Hypnosis. Like, there's use for it for sure, but it's not, Appletun is not that, it's another Pokemon that is not as good on its own, and you would need it, like, if it was faster, I'd say sure, right? If it was, like, 110 base speed, I would say, yeah, let's look into this thing. Maybe it can be good, right? The problem is that why are you using Appletun over Durant, right? And even though now you can drop Evasion, it's still a question you have to be asking yourself, right? And Grass Dragon is not the best typing, and it's so slow. Base 70 is just tragic, honestly. So being slower than Togekiss is a real pain for this thing, and its typing is so bad against Togekiss, which is currently, you know, the #1 Pokemon in the metagame. So for that reason, I don't think this thing is going to be very good, but we can talk more about it later. Grimmsnarl. So Grimmsnarl is interesting. This is another Pokemon similar to Alchemy, where I feel like people have been using it. There's better ways of doing this, wasn't there? People have been using it in a way that is pretty much fully supportive. I haven't seen many offensive Grimmsnarl at all, even though the base attack set is very high. People really have just been using supportive Grimmsnarl because it has an amazing move pool and a great ability to support that move pool. So for that reason, people have kind of, like, so Grimmsnarl hasn't really seen much use as an offensive Pokemon. Gmax Snooze it only helps Grimmsnarl. So the way that I understand it is that it only affects, it's a 50% chance to affect one of the opponents with Yawn. It does not affect, or maybe it's, I don't think you can, I'm pretty sure you can't get double Yawn off. Yawn is very good, but I guess the good thing if you're worried about Grimmsnarl being too powerful is that, like, because Togekiss have been running Yawn, and people have been running Sleep Powder, and a couple other Pokemon have used Yawn as well. People are more like, it's not like oh, now we have to prepare for sleep. It's, and especially with Venusaur coming up as well, like, people are going to be you have to have answers for sleep, and so most teams have a Fairy type that you can Dynamax and then set the Misty Terrain with to protect yourself, or I've seen some Safeguard on the ladder before, so, like, I think that this is cool for Grimmsnarl because it allows you to more easily justify using offensive Grimmsnarl, which I personally think could do really well, because it has such a huge base attack stat. It has a lot of good coverage moves and Power Whip. I mean, you can look at the moves here: Max Hailstorm, Max Phantasm, Max Knuckle, Max Lightning, Max. Like, it's like all these coverage moves, right? So yeah, I don't know. So basically, I think this is going to be good for Grimmsnarl. I think that there's a chance that it doesn't add to, like, it's never going to hurt Grimmsnarl, right? If you're running support Grimmsnarl, and as long as you have a dark move, or even if you don't have a more dark move, you may as well run Gmax Grimmsnarl, and you can throw people off with it. You know, if there's a situation where you have to max, you could, like, you know, max to bait them into thinking you have a dark move, even though you only have your Fairy move. It's probably not a great idea, right? But you see what I'm saying. It's never going to hurt you to have Gmax Grimmsnarl on your team. So I don't know. I think Gmax Grimmsnarl is a pretty good Pokemon, and it opens up doors, and it gives Grimmsnarl, like, it gives you a more easy justification for looking into and testing and, you know, maybe using Gmax Grimmsnarl than you would have had otherwise. Next up, we have Hatterene. So Hatterene is a Pokemon that benefits a lot from its Gmax form. In my opinion, the reason is that its Gmax move turns its Fairy type moves into Gmax, not Befuddle. What is it? Gmax Smite. And it confuses the opponents. I don't actually know if this is a 100% chance, so I apologize for that. I will look into it and let you know by the next video I do on these Gmax Mons, where I go a little bit more in depth. But yeah, so for Gmax Smite, it's very good because Hatterene is often paired with Indeedee, and Indeedee sets the Psychic terrain, which powers up Hatterene's Psychic attacks. However, if Hatterene wants to use a Fairy-type move, unfortunately, it has no choice except to overwrite. If it's going to Dynamax, then it would, in the past, have to Dynamax and overwrite the Misty terrain, or overwrite the Psychic terrain with Misty terrain, which then next turn would weaken its Psychic attacks. Gmax Smite is cool because it allows you to keep the terrain up and introduce confusion. It allows you to keep Psychic terrain on the field, which, as I mentioned, is really good for Hatterene offensively, in addition to the fact that confusion is very good. And if it confuses both opponents, or even if it only confuses one opponent, that's very powerful. A 1 in 3 chance on a Pokemon not to move to deal damage to itself is very good, and a 1 in 3 chance on both Pokemon to attack gives you better, or to not attack, gives you better odds of one of them not attacking than both of them attacking. It's a 4/9 to attack and a 5/9 to have at least one of them not attack, I believe, right? It's a 2 and 3 times 2 and 3 to not attack, so 4 out of 9, yeah. So Hatterene benefits a lot from its Gigantamax, and I would expect it to increase its usage a little bit for that. Kingler, it makes Kingler better, I'll be honest. Kingler now has a chance to see some usage. Kingler's stats, really low special defense, but good attack and defense. And actually, you know what, guys? I thought that Kingler was base 30. I'm going to be completely honest. I thought Kingler was base 30 speed. It turns out that it's base 75. Oh, can you not see that? Sorry, you can't see. Kingler is base 75 speed. Oh, wait. Maybe that's something better. Kingler's... Please, can you see that now? Okay. Kingler's base 75 speed. And its Gmax move, Gmax Foam Burst, harshly lowers the speed of the opponent. So... basically, with Kingler using Gmax Foam Burst, it immediately becomes faster than almost everything in the metagame, even if you don't invest speed. Like, you're hitting, what, 100... Oh, God. Public math. You're at 95 times 2. That's 190. You're at 190 stat after a Gmax Foam Burst, effectively. Like, sorry, you outspeed everything 100 slower than 190 speed stat, and you can't affect Dragapult anyway, unless you want to use Wheezing with this thing. And it gets Sheer Force, I believe. Right? This thing gets Sheer Force, which is good with Life Orb. So I think this Pokemon could be... And Hyper Cutter stops Intimidate. Or does it stop all stat drops? Can't lower its attack. So I think Kingler could have some usage now. It's not going to be an obvious choice. I don't think people are going to be like, oh yeah, like, now finally, like, Kingler's going to be the best mon in the format. Especially when we talk about something that's coming up. One of the last GMAX mons I have to talk about. But it does make Kingler better. And it gives it a shot now. So... yeah, it has potential, I think. Lapras. So this is kind of the elephant in the room, or the dinosaur in the ocean. I can't believe I've gotten all the categories right for the letters so far. So Lapras' Gmax move, and this is the best one by far in my opinion. Lapras' Gmax move is Gmax Resonance. And that move is very interesting. And what it does is it sets Aurora Veil for 5 turns unless you have Light Clay, in which case it's 8 turns. This is going to be maybe the best Pokemon in the format, I think. Maybe I'm being too dramatic. But that's my opinion. I really think that Lapras is very, 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 very strong. And the ability to Dynamax and boost your team's bulk by reduce damage by, you know, 2/3 of its original value coming in is very good. And you get that for 5 to 8 turns. Like, and it does damage as well. That's the other thing. So you have what, up to 140 base power special move. Okay, that's Stab, right? You go in Weakness Policy on Lapras. And for those of you who don't know, Lapras has very good stats. Like, take a look at this bulk. And the offense isn't amazing, right? But you could run Weakness Policy, right? You can run Light Clay and just have 8 turns. People have been dedicating them on GRIMMSNARL. To early in the format, people were running GRIMMSNARL, spending 2 attacks and doing no damage just to get 8 turns of screens, right? And if GRIMMSNARL got both of its screens up, that was considered a success. Now you have Lapras, which sure, on the one hand, takes your Dynamax for the game, but also gives you 8 turns of screens while doing damage for 3 turns. I think this thing's going to significantly affect the metagame, like significantly, and I don't even think that's a bad thing. I just think everyone should be prepared for this thing to be the best Pokemon maybe in the format after Gigantamax. And I could be being dramatic 100%, but that's my opinion. We have 2 left, well, 3 left technically. Next up is Orbital. I think Orbital, I've always said it, I think Orbital has potential. I don't know how good it is actually, but I do think that it has potential. Its Gmax move sets Gravity for 5 turns. There's something really cool about this. So you can Gmax Gravitas and pair it with Hypnosis users or Earthquake users so they can hit the things that float. I think this thing has potential. It has potential on kind of gimmicky teams, but I think it could actually be good overall as well. Really good bulk, not bad speed for the format at all. Base 90 is pretty good, frankly. And a couple interesting move options. You can use screens with it. You can use oh god, like Hypnosis. You can use boosting moves, Trick Room. It gets some cool stuff. Like I mentioned, I think in my Orbital guide that you could do something interesting where you go for like Trick Room Orbital and you go for Gmax and set the gravity up for other things. So I think this thing has potential. I think a lot of these Gmax moves give you a reason to look into Pokemon and see how good they are. So I think Orbital is a Pokemon that people should look into at the very least, even if it's not like, you know, as powerful as you might want. The other thing to note is that Incineroar coming back is extremely bad for Orbital, being weak to both of its stabs. One other thing I like about Orbital is that the Bug Stab lowers the opponent's special attack, which is pretty valuable. So that's Orbital. I believe we have 2 left. So next one is Toxtricity. I've talked a little bit about Toxtricity. Toxtricity really hasn't seen much usage. Cool shiny form. I like both the shiny forms. Anyway, Toxicities Move, I've talked about this already in an earlier video, but it basically paralyzes or poisons both opponents with Gmax Stun Shock. Like, I'm not sure if that's better than setting Electric Terrain for Toxtricity. I think it might be because Paralysis is so good. I just hate that this is so volatile, you know what I'm saying? Like, I hate that, like, you don't know what you're going to get when you use Gmax Stun Shock. Like, you can get double poison, and that would be bad. You can get the Paralysis on the wrong mon, or you get the poison on the wrong mana, that would be bad. Or you can get double paralysis. Toxtricity's typing is good offensively, very bad defensively. I think, again, it's a Pokemon that has potential. I've always felt like it has potential, especially in a Togekiss metagame, but it's 4 times weakness to ground, it's weakness to psychic, and it's really poor bulk overall. It really hurts it. In addition to the fact that when you Dynamax, you don't get your boost from your ability anymore. And if you're running Throat Spray, then you don't get that boost anymore. So I think Toxtricity has potential. Like, a lot of these Pokemon have potential, and I don't think Gigantamax is going to hurt it. Like, you can always just run Dynamax Toxtricity, right? And in some cases, that might make sense. The low base speed really hurts this thing, frankly. Although, at least it's faster than Butterfree, but being slower than Adam and Excadrill even is pretty bad. So, yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about Toxtricity. Like, I'll talk more about it, I guess, in my next video on this topic. But yeah, last one again is Charizard, who I think everyone knows how it works. It's similar to Volcanion, except that its move does 1/6 damage for... Where is it? It does 1/6 damage for 4 turns on each mon, just like Volcanion. But now you can use Solar Power. So that's going to change, I think, the dynamic of how Gmax Charizard plays. It's still going to be a great Pokemon, in my opinion. Though, again, Incineroar's return, Lapras' addition is going to hurt it, I think. But it does give you the option to now go for Sunny Day and... It gives you the option to go for Sunny Day and then start using Charizard with Gigantamax more offensively. Whereas in Dallas, it's not that we use it defensively, but we had a Charty Berry on it, you know, like compared to Life Orb or, you know, even Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. We gave it a Charty Berry, and it was intended primarily to, like, it wasn't, you had to use Fake Tears to get much damage with it on a lot of things. But yeah, like, it was not intended necessarily to be like, oh, like, Charizard is this incredible offensive Pokemon that just destroys everything. It's like, okay, Charizard is strong and it can do good damage and we have good support for it, but the real thing is that the passive damage is going to, like, let us win in the end game, right? Because the passive damage is so powerful. And now you can always still do that, but you open the door for the fact that you can now use offensive Charizard with a Gigantamax move, which is very good, because if you're doing even, like, so much damage, because I believe Life Orb Solar Power Charizard in the Sun is stronger than Fake. Yeah, it's definitely stronger with fire moves than Fake Tears. It might even be stronger with non-fire moves, because it's what, I think Solar Power is 1 point. Oh wait, maybe it's weaker. I don't know, but some fire moves are definitely stronger. So yeah, this thing does a lot of damage, I can tell you, in the Sun already. So yeah, and setting up that passive effect that can't really be removed is scary for sure. So yeah, I think Charizard will be good. Again, metagame is going to shift now. So now we have Incineroar, and now we have, oh god, there's going to be Gigantamax Charizard Venusaur teams with Sleep Powder, aren't there? With Sun. Yep, that's coming. Well, that's coming. That's not super fun. But yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, I think. I also should note about Lapras, by the way, that the thing... Sorry, I guess I didn't explain this as clearly as I should have. The thing about that makes Lapras' attack so good is that Aurora Veil is one of the best attacks in the game, and the way they balance that, where they were like, okay, we're going to give you a broken attack, okay? But we're going to balance it because you can only set an Inhale, which is kind of the worst weather, right? Like, no one wants to say it, but I'm going to say it. It's kind of the worst weather, right? The thing about Lapras is that first of all, it doesn't set Hail, which doesn't chip down the rest of your team, and second of all, you can set it up without the hail being up. It's not like, oh, if you have hail up, you'll set up the Aurora Veil. It's like, oh, you get the Aurora Veil without needing to set hail up, and instead you have to Gigantamax, but that's not even that bad. So yeah, that's why I think that's part of the reason why I think Lapras is very, very powerful. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this interesting. I think I do want to do like a tier list video as long as people want to see that, where I can go a little bit more in depth on the Pokemon themselves. I tried to do a good job, covering a first look, but I can go a little deeper in the next video. The next video I do on this topic, I should say, because I don't know when I'm uploading this, or when I'm uploading the next one. But yeah, let me know if you found this interesting. Buy the merch, support your boy. Also subscribe, please subscriber. And yeah, I think that's all I want to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.